Python none comparison. Should I use is or equals equals? My editor warns me when I compare my_var equals none, but no warning when I use my_var is none. I did a test in the Python shell and determined both are valid syntax, but my editor seems to be saying that my_var is none is preferred. Is this the case, and if so, why?
Summary. Use is when you want to check against an object's identity, e.g. checking to see if var is none. Use equals equals when you want to check equality, e.g. is var equal to 3? Explanation. You can have custom classes where my_var equals none will return true. e.g. is checks for object identity. There is only one object none, so when you do my_var is none, you're checking whether they actually are the same object, not just equivalent objects. In other words, equals equals is a check for equivalence, which is defined from object to object, whereas is checks for object identity.
Is generally preferred when comparing arbitrary objects to singletons like none because it is faster and more predictable. Is always compares by object identity, whereas what equals equals will do depends on the exact type of the operands and even on their ordering. This recommendation is supported by PEP 8, which explicitly states that comparisons to singletons like none should always be done with is or is not, never the equality operators.
PEP 8 defines that it is better to use the is operator when comparing singletons.
I recently encountered where this can go wrong. I created a function that optionally takes a number py array as argument and changes if it is included. If I test for its inclusion using inequality operators not equal, this raises a value error, see code above. If I use is not none, the code works correctly.
A useful tidbit to add to people's understanding. The reason that we check for identity with none is because Python only ever stores the value none in one place in memory, and every object which equals none has its value stored in this same location. There are a handful of special values which get this treatment, and none is just one of them. But most values do not get this special treatment. For example, the float 1.25 can be stored in different locations in memory. True. False. It just so happens that none is among the handful of values which are always stored in one place in memory. Another example is any integer between -5 and 256. Since these integers are used often, they are always stored in memory, and every integer with that value is stored in the same place in your computer's memory. Try it out. True. False. So you can think of none as being part of a special class of values which always have a constant memory address. That is why we can use is to check whether two variables are both none. It just checks whether the memory address is the same. Edit. Dewey makes the good point that which integers are stored in memory is specific to your Python implementation, and the example of numbers from -5 to 256 is specific to Python. If you don't know what you're running, it's probably Python, which is the most common implementation. But for this reason, and others, it is better practice to compare equality between these numbers with a equals 2 and not with is 2. As for none, it is specified to be the sole instance of the nonetype type according to the Python documentation itself, so regardless of implementation you can always compare it using is none.